My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 73 fight card, giving you my DraftKings picks, my DraftKings predictions, and my DraftKings plays. And it has been wildly successful these last couple of weeks for our premium members. Every week I do this breakdown. Every week I give you my insight, but I tell you about premium membership and the tools available to you over there. And our premium members, this is only premium members, we have tallied over $150,000 in winnings just from premium members the last two events. We have that $78,000 ticket from Jack Spade, a $50,000 ticket from Jeffrey. Mitch turned $150 into $2,000. Under Control or Batarius won $13,000. These are just DraftKings tickets. These are premium members who went out of their way to reach out to us and say, hey, because of premium membership, I was able to do this. I had this success because of you. So I don't know what else you need, right? Like, I tell you how great it is, but who am I, right? Hear from the people themselves, the people using it, making the money. It's only $10 a month, and you're going to unlock everything you have ever needed to build a winning DraftKings lineup. Just go to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's only $10, and you get access to everything, including our DraftKings cheat sheet. Right here, you're going to get this at 6 o'clock on Friday nights. You're going to get the ownership projections, the scoring projections, the leverage calculation, and then we're going to give you full breakdowns, our fighters that you should use for cash core, GPP core, live dogs that we have identified, leverage plays, and then our fades of the week. You're also going to get full ranking for every single fighter by every salary group, and then, of course, we cannot forget the actual optimizer that builds lineups for you. WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. It's only $10 a month. And this is the receipt. Here are the receipts from only two events. Only two events we have had this wild community success. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. Let's go ahead and break down this card. Weigh-ins are over. I filmed this a little later than usual, and that's because it's a sketchy card. Sometimes I film before weigh-ins when it's a pretty confident card. Obviously, you don't ever know what's going to happen at weigh-ins, but this week's a sketchy card, so every little thing matters. And we had two weight misses. Vanessa Demopoulos missed by 1.5 pounds, and Orion Cosce missed by 1.5 pounds as well. Both of those fights are still intact. Let's start at the bottom, work our way to the top, and opening up the card, we have Takashi Sato taking on Themba Gorimbo. Takashi Sato, the guy's a striker. He's got some solid power. He's got some pretty good volume. He really turns it on when he has you stunned. Tries to finish you from there, but he does have some gaping, grappling holes, and that's what all of these losses are. I mean, lots of grappling holes in these losses. Obviously, Battle knocked him out cold, but we've seen him get out wrestled. We've seen him get controlled. Bilal Muhammad did it to him. Gunnar Nelson did it to him. And unfortunately, I think that's what Themba Gorimbo can do to him as well, because Themba Gorimbo is a solid striker, but he can grapple, right? And I think he's actually primarily a grappler, but his striking is so solid that people can confuse him for sort of a technical striker, at least somebody that likes to fight on the outside. Themba Gorimbo, he's coming off this loss to AJ Fletcher. You see he scored 23 points. He had 2 takedowns. He had a reversal. He had some control time, and he really had AJ Fletcher in some trouble before he chased a submission, and then he lost that position. So he was looking for his own finish before he sort of gave up that position, and then he got finished. But I honestly think Themba gets it done. I would have preferred better pricing, but he is technically the underdog here. He is now the full-on betting favorite, so this $8,000 is actually a little bit of a discount. Then we got Natalia, Silva, Victoria Leonardo. Here's the thing. Victoria Leonardo, biggest underdog on this card, both in DraftKings and for sports books. Victoria Leonardo is not a bum, though. So she's sort of decent everywhere. She comes forward. She's got pressure. She wants to lock you up, drag you to the ground. Her BJJ is decent, but she makes up for any technical gaps just with pressure and persistence. And she's coming off this win over Mandy Bohm, but Mandy Bohm sort of exposed herself last week. But she has been an underdog. Victoria Leonardo has been an underdog in every single one of her UFC fights. But she's taking on Natalia Silva, the biggest favorite on the entire card. Natalia Silva is a savage. She comes out. She's got crazy striking with very good power. She has good, nice, I'm Donald Trump. Good, solid, upper body takedown. She's going to wrap you up. She's going to drag you to the ground. She'll trip you. But what's really impressive is once she gets on top, she's got phenomenal control. She's got solid power for the division, but she does get taken down. She sort of leaves herself open when she overcommits to some of these strikes. Natalia Silva is absolutely going to win this fight. The question becomes, do you spend $9,700 because it may be an 85-point decision or even an 85-point stoppage win? But unfortunately, I do think you have to spend that money. I don't necessarily think she's going to get an early stoppage, but I think you have to spend the money because it's such a sketchy card. There's so few spots. So if you're not putting in what we can call a guarantee, it's MMA, nothing is a guarantee. If you're not putting that in your lineup, then what are we doing here, right? You have to have her at least in a few of your lineups. Then you have Chase Hooper, Nick Fiore. This is an interesting fight because Chase Hooper, skinny little dweeby BJJ nerd. That's just what he is. Actually, let me take back the BJJ nerd part. Skinny dweeb that does BJJ, period, end of sentence, and he's a nerd. He's not a BJJ nerd, meaning he's not butt scooting. He's not Crone Gracie embarrassing his family's name out there, because Chase Hooper actually will come forward, swing, and if you're hitting him, he's still trying to win. He's trying to get takedowns. He's trying to engage. He's not just scooting on his butt like, please grapple me. But what makes this interesting is I think Chase Hooper can probably win this fight, right? It's grappler versus grappler. But what's problematic here for Chase Hooper is his takedowns absolutely suck, and he needs to get it to the ground to win this fight. The Felipe Colares win, he knocked out Felipe Colares, but he's not a striker. Let's not pretend that he is. The Barrett win, I mean, he has wins over sort of lesser regional type guys, but they are people in the UFC. But he has a very enticing $7,900, and he's taking on Nick Fiore. Nick Fiore is Chase Hooper, but a little manlier, right? He's a BJJ guy. His takedowns aren't great, but they're okay. His hands are actually very good. He doesn't have really much power, but he's accurate. He's got solid, accurate striking that he's touching his targets when he needs to. He's coming off this loss in his UFC debut to Mateusz Rebecki. Mateusz Rebecki's a tough outing for anybody, especially a UFC debut. And obviously he was just pushed forward, taken down, pushed forward, taken down, pushed forward, taken down. But he had one takedown of his own, a little bit of control time in there, scored 23 points in what was essentially a mauling. This is a super tough fight. And the only reason that I'm not really sure what to do here is I don't see, they're both BJJ black belts. I don't think they're going to submit each other. So then now we're stuck with what? A sloppy fight. Who's going to get the takedown? Nick Fiore probably wins. I don't know if I'm going to spend the $8,300 on him in DraftKings. Again, this is a sketchy card because, I mean, this is like, that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. That's basically this fight, except Nick Fiore's got a little more muscle definition. Plus, it's Chase Hooper's first fight at this weight class. Like, anything's possible. I do think Nick Fiore's going to get it done, but if they're about even, pricing-wise, Chase Hooper's obviously the better price point. Then we have Ilir Latifi taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. This is another fight. I'm glad I waited for the weigh-ins. Nascimento towers over Ilir Latifi. It's like me standing next to Jacob. It is like 2 feet of height difference that it looks like. It's like a man standing over his child. It's bad. I knew Ilir Latifi was short. I think he's like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", something like that. And I knew Rodrigo Nascimento was tall, like 6'2", 6'3", but it looks much bigger than that. And I'm glad I saw the weigh-ins because I think Nascimento wins. I picked Nascimento to win. I bet on Nascimento to win. And then I was starting to have some regrets because Ilir Latifi is a very good wrestler. I mean, look at this. 3 takedowns, 2, 3, 1. Like, he's taking people down. He's taking them at impressive rates. And that's all he's doing because the strike counts are abysmal. This dude fought for 15 minutes, landed 10 strikes, 5 strikes in 15 minutes. What the hell are you doing? And that's the problem with Ilir Latifi. You can't really throw him in your lineup. He's never a good underdog, ever. Unless you think he's going to somehow squeeze out a win. He doesn't score well enough in losses. I mean, his losses, he scores almost nothing. Let's go ahead and shut this down. And then hop on to Rodrigo Nascimento. Rodrigo Nascimento, the guy's an aggressive striker. He comes forward aggressively, but he is a grappler at his heart, so he's going to look to wrap you up, take you down, work submissions from there. He's a finisher. This guy finishes his fights, submission wins, knockout wins. He is a finisher. I think this was the Tanner Boser win, is the first decision of his career. And frankly, I'm a little worried that he's going to get taken down because that's what Ilir Latifi does, but I do think Rodrigo Nascimento is going to win this fight. $9,000 is a lot of money to spend. I was not going to spend it, and then I saw the weigh-ins. I mean, if he can get a finish, great. Ilir Latifi's not the type of guy that you're easily going to get out of there, but 85 points for $9,000, it's not outstanding, but frankly, I do think Rodrigo Nascimento is now one of my more confident picks because of the weigh-ins. I know that sounds absurd, but go watch that picture or go look at that picture. It's kind of crazy. Then we have Orion Cosce taking on Gilbert Urbina. Orion Cosce missed weight by 1.5 pounds. He was fined 20%. He's coming back after a year away. He's been gone for a year, dealing with some stuff. He's now back. This is another fight where it's mirror images of each other. It's that Spider-Man meme again. Orion Cosce is a grappler. He's going to come forward. He's pretty strong, so he uses his strength for the wrestling. He's going to drag you to the ground and then work from there. His fight IQ is not the best. We've seen him make some mistakes. His chin is iffy, right? But Philip Rowe's solid, so I wouldn't say Orion's chin sucks. But Orion Cosce can absolutely win this fight. He has to come forward. He has to get the takedowns. He got 5 takedowns in 2 fights in the UFC, the last of which was against Blood Diamond, Mike Mathetha, who's incredibly tough, very good kickboxer. So Orion Cosce did what he needed to do. He's taking on Gilbert Urbina. Gilbert Urbina lost in the Ultimate Fighter finale. He also lost in the Ultimate Fighter semifinals, right? Gilbert Urbina has a mixed bag of success. Because, yes, he lost to Brian Battle. He was submitted by Brian Battle. But look at this. He scored 36 points in 2 rounds. He had 2 takedowns, 3 minutes and 40 seconds of control time, and landed 63 strikes. Gilbert Urbina is a high-paced guy, a high-pressure guy. He's also a grappler. He wants to get it to the ground. He wants to get it done. My biggest issue with Gilbert Urbina is while he lands more than 6 significant strikes per minute, he is hit with more than that. He has a negative striking differential, even though he has that incredible output. Originally, I was leaning Cosce. Cosce was the pick. Super close fight. But that weight miss after a year away, that weight miss matters. And if Orion starts to slow down in this fight and the takedowns aren't really there because he's not a dangerous guy, then Gilbert can start to take over. Gilbert's a durable guy. So, I think Gilbert at $7,800 is the better play between these two for sure, especially after that weight miss. Then we have Karolina Kowalkiewicz taking on Vanessa Demopoulos, another weight miss. Vanessa Demopoulos missed by 1.5 pounds. This is another super razor-thin close fight. Karolina Kowalkiewicz at one point in her career was in title contention, one of the best in the world, fighting other best in the worlds. And then she hit a bit of a skid, but she's on the rebound. She's on the up and up here. She beat Felice Herrig by submission. She beat Silvana Gomez-Juarez. And what was impressive about the Gomez-Juarez fight was the 2 takedowns. What was not impressive is she lost that fight. That was a bad decision. It was sort of gifted to her. But she worked in takedowns, which if you look through this, up until that fight, we had never seen her get more than 1 single takedown before. And all of a sudden, she worked in several takedowns, and it appeared to be a game plan. She's taking on, and she's a phenomenal striker. That's her thing. She's a bread and butter kickboxer, and that is her skill set. So that's why the striking was the grappling was a little bit out there in that last fight. And she's taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos is pretty well-rounded. She's a solid striker. And now we know she's a solid grappler. She, like Karolina, worked in takedowns in her last fight. She had a knockdown, 2 takedowns, scored 100 points in that win with 9 minutes of control time. Vanessa Demopoulos is really starting to put stuff together. Her first fight in the UFC, her UFC debut was that loss to JJ Aldrich, where she put up decent numbers, had some success. But JJ, as disappointing as she can be, JJ is tough, right? JJ is a hard UFC debut. And since then, Vanessa Demopoulos has been making stuff happen. This win against Fry, she was the underdog. She worked in a takedown, had control, had solid striking numbers, and got it done. And then the Maria Oliveira fight, she got that done as well. I think Vanessa Demopoulos wins this fight. I do hate that she missed weight, but she doesn't have that long layoff that Orion Cosce does. She didn't have injuries that Orion Cosce had. So I don't know what the reason for the weight miss was, but I do think Vanessa Demopoulos is still okay at $7,700 because she comes out here, works her ass off. And if we're going to have to use the $9,700 Natalia Silva, then we're going to need to balance that out, and a $7,700 Vanessa Demopoulos is a great person to do that with. Then we have Maheshate taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. Maheshate. He's Madonna. No first name, just Maheshate. He's a very young guy. He's only 23 years old. He has that composure of a veteran, though. He doesn't panic. He doesn't freak out. He stays composed, and he comes forward while still being creative. He's a creative striker who's going to work in old-school martial art techniques, spinning attacks. Like, he's a very creative striker that can make stuff happen. If you let him dictate the pace, he's going to have a lot of success, but if you stay in his face, you cut him off, you pressure him, you could do really, really well. He is a striker. We haven't seen much grappling out of him, but we might in this fight because he's taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. Viacheslav Borshchev is the team alpha male striking coach. And we talk about all the time how solid team alpha male striking has become. Song Yadong looked phenomenal in his last fight, and a lot of that has to do with Slava Claus and everything that he's done for that team. And I mentioned you may see Maheshate wrestle now because all of a sudden when people fight Viacheslav, they become wrestlers. Ducote shooting takedowns left and right. All of a sudden, Davis shooting. Everybody's shooting takedowns the minute it's time to fight Viacheslav Borshchev. He stepped up on short notice in this Davis fight, but what was impressive about it is while he was taken down, I think it was a ridiculous 9 times, he didn't stop. He kept getting up. He kept scrambling. He never let his shoulders rest on that mat, and he continued to work. Remember that breakdown that I gave for Brian Battle a few weeks ago? Where I talk about Renat Fakhrinov took him down over and over and over. But what was impressive is how Brian responded, how he got his shoulders off the mat, kept coming. Well, that's what Viacheslav looked like in that last fight, and that was short notice as well. So I do think Viacheslav's going to win this fight. But it's important to note that he's now the favorite. He was an underdog. The line full-on swing to favorite, which means Maheshate opened as the favorite, and he is now the underdog in DraftKings. If you're on that side, then enjoy your discount because you're going to get a discount on him. But I do think Borshchev wins this fight. $8,800 is a lot of money to spend, considering it could be a very tough night. We got Michael Johnson taking on Diego Ferreira. Michael Johnson in the underdog spot again. That seems to have been finding him quite a bit lately. Later in his career. And Michael Johnson's a solid striker. He's got good footwork, busy hands, high fight IQ. He's been around forever. I mean, let's scroll to the bottom of this. 2010, this guy's fighting in the UFC. We're 13 years since his UFC debut, and he's still here. He's still hanging. Oh, and wait, he's the younger fighter in this fight. He's the younger guy in this fight. It is a tough fight, though, because Michael Johnson, I mentioned, solid hands, good cardio, good footwork, the occasional takedown if he needs it. You're going to see a couple of knockouts on here. He knocked out Patrick. He dropped Jamie Malarkey, but he's not really a one-punch knockout guy. He's taking on Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira is a really good BJJ guy who has power in his hands. And even though he is a grappler, he's got a nice striking differential, so he's landed more than he's getting hit. He has decent takedowns, when he can get them going. But if you look at his 3-fight skid, okay, he lost to Beneil Dariush, killer. Lost to Gillespie, killer. Lost to Gamrot, killer. He's losing to killer wrestlers. He's finally going to get a striker that he's going to try to take down. I personally think Michael Johnson wins. He's got high fight IQ, high takedown defense, and I think Michael Johnson can sort of cruise through that, right? He can defend the takedowns, avoid whatever early chaos comes with the hands, and then just pick Diego Ferreira apart for a win. But again, sketchy card, sketchy fight. The pricing's a bit wild. And if you think Diego Ferreira wins by finish, throw him in your lineup. But Michael Johnson's not an easy guy to finish. Then we have Andre Fialho taking on Joaquin Buckley at his new weight class. Andre Fialho, powerful guy. He's all punch. All punch. This guy, we haven't seen any takedowns in the UFC whatsoever. He does have some in the regional scene if you go watch some of the LFA fights and other fights like that. But he's a powerful guy. He's got decent striking. He'll come forward, not much head movement, but he will bomb away. Very, very real power. He does a nice double jab and kind of makes things happen on his feet. He's also very tough. He's not the type of guy you're going to hit once or twice and then he's going to be out of there. He is a tough guy that can hang and that can make a fight really dirty and then usually come out on top. But he is coming off 2 stoppages in a row. Matthews put him out. Salikov TKO'd him. And he's taking on Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley in his new weight class, coming down, looks incredible. I mean, this dude looks absolutely phenomenal at this weight. The question then becomes what happens to his cardio? Does he lose his power? What else goes on here when he comes down in weight? But Joaquin Buckley, also a fantastic striker. Very fast, very accurate, but he doesn't headhunt. Fialho will headhunt. Joaquin Buckley will work the body, then come up to the head. We'll also see takedowns. He took down Razak Al Hassan 5 times. So Buckley's going to be the pick. $9,300, honestly, on a card with a bunch of sketchy fights. He's probably a decent play here, especially after seeing weigh-ins and how good he looked. But Joaquin Buckley should get this done. But he is coming off this bad knock. Chris Curtis flatlined this dude. And we don't know how good his chin is. That was 4 months ago. We don't know how good his chin is and how that recovered, especially cutting weight. That makes this a little sketchy. I do think Joaquin wins, but maybe that's a fight that you want to avoid because Paulo Fialho does hit really hard. Joaquin Buckley was knocked out. And typically, cutting weight after a knockout only makes your chin worse. Then we have a short notice matchup between Emily Ducote and Lupita Godinez. Emily Ducote was on the card. Lupi is the one stepping up on short notice. Emily Ducote, it's always weird saying these women are big. I mean, they're actually tiny. They're 5'5". But for the weight class, Emily is strong. She's big. She's powerful. Good takedown defense. Decent hands. And she can really make something happen in her fights. She's coming off the loss to Angela Hill. But the reality is, Angela Hill's a tough outing for a lot of people, and it was just a stylistic issue. Angela Hill did a great job dancing around, staying on the outside, and Emily had a hard time getting her hands going. She did land 71 significant strikes, but all in all, Emily's got some solid power, and she's a decent striker with very good takedown defense. She's taking on Lupita Godinez, and if there's anybody, she might be the most frustrating fighter in this division because she's got all the talent. When she is on, she comes forward, she bombs away, she takes you down, drags you to the ground, and really beats the absolute hell out of you. The problem is she's very inconsistent. She lost to Angela Hill. She was a ridiculously huge favorite, barely got a takedown, struggled. I think she went 1 for 6. Cynthia Calvillo, you see the W, but that was an absolute trash fight. She could get no takedowns. She got taken down by Cynthia Calvillo. And Lupita Godinez just really struggles at times. She beat Loma Lukbumi, who's a killer. She beat Carnelozzi, who's an absolute tank. And then just struggles with Angela Hill and Cynthia Calvillo. You don't know what you're going to get. But historically speaking, Lupita Godinez stepping up on short notice has not worked out well for Lupita Godinez. And I don't think this is going to be any different. I like Emily Ducote here. I personally will probably have her in my lineup. But if you're going to get the Lupi from the Lukbumi fight, the Lupi from the Carnelozzi fight, I mean, that Lupi's going to do really well. And that Lupi can absolutely win this fight. But short notice, coming off 2 terrible performances in a row, I can't be on that side, and I definitely can't spend $8,600. Then we have the co-main event of the evening, Anthony Hernandez versus Edmund Shabazian. Anthony Hernandez, one of the very few confident picks on this card. He is a grappler. He likes to come forward, get his takedowns, and then try to work for a submission. And the reality is you're going to see, okay, he submitted Marc-Andre Barreau. He had 10 minutes of control time, essentially. 8 takedowns. 8 takedowns in his fight before that against Josh Freem. 6 against Park. The problem is that means people are getting up. You can't take somebody down 8 times if they didn't stand up 7. So while I do think Anthony Hernandez wins this fight, and I love, especially for DraftKings, that he's shooting after shot after shot after shot. I love it, especially for DraftKings. People do stand up, and then Edmund Shabazian is not the type of guy you want to continue to stand up because Edmund's a very good striker. He's well-rounded, impressive kicks, can really make stuff happen. He plants his feet, he lets his hands go. The planting opens him up for takedowns, which helps Anthony Hernandez. It also gives him a lot of power, which is how he's putting people out, like Dalcha Lungambula. That's a phenomenal knockout. Brad Tavares is not an easy guy to put out. So I like Anthony Hernandez to win this fight. I think he's going to get the takedowns. I think stylistically that works out well for him. He is $9,400, but I think he scores well. Those 8 takedowns, the fact that he has no control is actually great for DraftKings, and they're scoring takedowns are 5 points. So Anthony Hernandez probably should be in your lineup. And honestly, I think I would trust Anthony Hernandez at $9,400 more than I would Natalia Silva at $97. Natalia Silva's more like going to win her fight, but may not put up the same numbers that Anthony will, and you'll get a $300 discount. And then we have the main event. We got Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. A lot of you are very confident in Angela Hill. And if you are, then throw her in your lineup because you're going to get a great price point on somebody who's going to fight for 25 minutes because Angela's not going to win inside the distance. So she's still going to get 25 minutes worth of work in. A lot of people insisting Mackenzie Dern wins. That side I'm a little less confident on. I personally do think Mackenzie wins this fight. She comes forward, and while we all know her as the phenomenal grappler, she comes forward. She swings. She tries to get this done. Like Chase Hooper, she's not a nerd. She's not Kron Gracie. She's not scooting on her butt like a dog wiping his ass on the carpet, begging you to grapple. She will come forward, bomb away, take whatever she's got to take, and try to get takedowns. Problem is, she can't get takedowns. She sucks at getting takedowns. She did take Yan Janan down twice, had 2 reversals, 10 minutes of control time, still lost that fight. Because on her feet, it just wasn't working. And her takedowns, she shot 11 takedowns. So it was a little embarrassing when she couldn't get most of them, right? Her takedown percentage is only 11%, and judges hate to see that desperate sort of shoot, but amount to nothing. The thing is, she's tough. Insanely tough. So Angela Hill, while talented, a veteran, high fight IQ, while Angela Hill can dance around and touch up Mackenzie and defend takedowns, Mackenzie Dern is never going to stop. Mackenzie Dern is far more dangerous. Her hands are solid. Her grappling is amazing. And Angela Hill, her only real ability to win this fight is by decision because she's not dangerous at all. But she is durable. So I personally think that Mackenzie Dern is going to get this done. I don't know what to do with DraftKings, though, because I can't. How many times can you spend that money on Mackenzie Dern to watch her fail at takedown attempts? Angela Hill is probably the better DraftKings play. I mean, even in this loss, Verna Jandiroba, 27 points in 3 rounds, 52 points. 52 points in a 3-round loss to Torres. You add 2 more rounds, she's scoring 70-something points in a loss. Obviously, there were 2 takedowns in there, which she's not going to want to do against Mackenzie Dern. But like I said, if you're on the Angela Hill side, throw her in your lineup. I am not. I like Mackenzie Dern to win. I'm probably not spending the money on Mackenzie Dern, though, when I have other fighters at that similar price point that I am far more confident in. Guys, don't forget, people are killing it. Our community as a whole is killing it. $150,000 in DraftKings winnings over the last 2 events. And these are premium members. These aren't just random people that are like, hey, look, I did well, and then I'm using their screenshots. These are premium members who said, because of membership, because of what you do, I made this money. $78,000 to Jack, $50,000 to Jeffrey. Mitch, great guy, turned $150 into $2,000. Batarius, $13,000 win. Guys, there is a theme here. Our community is killing it, and that's because they get all the tools. They get the cheat sheet. They get the optimizer. They get the breakdowns, and they use whatever they want to use. They use the insight, some of the tools, build their lineups, and they have success. WeWantPicks.com at the top. Click, become a member. It's $10 a month, and look what they're doing with their money.